Good morning, all. Star and Flurry. Star and Flurry here. It's not like I've been talking to anybody. I don't know what's wrong with my voice. Anyways, hello. It is a cloudy day here in Central Oregon, which I don't mind. And it's supposed to snow next week. More than just a flurry, so that's exciting. So I just did a reading and I wanted to document it because it's the first time I kept waiting for things to kind of fall into place. I mean, I feel like I think this is an ongoing learning situation. It will be for the rest of my life. But I was hoping that at some point I would get a handle on just being able to look at something and read the flow. And this morning I did exactly that. And I don't know whether it was just the magic of the way the cards came together or whether I'm starting to frickin' get it, which would just be a 2 thumbs up from me to the universe, because I appreciate the whatever it is, the epiphany we're having right now today. So let me recreate what I just did. So I shuffled all the decks. I'm using as always, the Inner Compass Oracle. Heather Hopes. I love this. It's the best Oracle deck ever. For whatever it speaks to me. Some Oracle decks, I'll pull a thing and it'll be fruitful, and I'm like, I don't know what that means. You know, I almost take it too literally. Like, should I hoe my garden? What do I need to do? Well, maybe that's an interesting piece of advice. Hoe your garden. Anyways, so, but this one there's never anything in it that doesn't kind of make sense to me. So I guess that's a bonding thing. I don't know. Anyway, so I pulled three of those. The first one was Explore. Make sure I don't have a cinnamon roll in my mouth. I always neglect to check that. So make sure my fingernails are clean. Because, hello. Okay, so the first one is Explore with the bear. Very cute. Second one is an owl with Wisdom. And the third one was Solitude. So then I drew 3 cards from, it's one of the C.S. Stein decks of kind of it's just a regular RWS. I can't remember which one this is, but it's got the little rose at the center and the blue shading and the crackle finish. It's really pretty. He does a lot of cool decks that I want to use the term washed out. That's not what they are. They're just the way they look when they come to you. They look like used and tea stained and all that. They're really cool decks, and I love them. And it's weird because I keep buying them, even though I don't use the standard RWS all that often. They're just so stunning. Anyways, so Under Solitude was the Death card. It's got kind of this crackle finish in the background. And the colors, this particular deck is not as muted as most of his others. Under Wisdom, I have the 9 of Pentacles. And under Solitude, I have the 9 of Wands. And as a 6-card spread, nothing was resonating. I didn't try very hard. Let's put it that way. I didn't try very hard to look at it. But I didn't get the Death card in the Explorer, except for a transformation that may occur during your exploring. So, okay. So I decided to clarify it with the Antiquities of Magic Oracle, also another one of my favorites by Jillian Wilde, with her Oracle deck. And under Explore, the Death card, came the Globe. I was like, okay. And then under Wisdom and the 9 of Pentacles came Transformation, Butterfly. And then under Solitude and the 9 of Wands came Balance. So here's the deal. I mean, I looked at it, I said, okay. I just took a little adventure today to Portland, or yesterday, kind of a quick turnaround just to pick up some bookcases at IKEA. And a little exploration of Powell's bookstore in downtown Portland, which is just truly one of my favorite places ever. And I realized on the road how much I do love to move around. Weather is so dicey here, it's hard to kind of plan anything because you just never know when it's gonna, snow or whatever. And anywhere I go, I have passes to go. If I go to the west, I have one pass. If I go south, I've got two passes. So it's kind of like I just have learned not to plan anything because every time I do, it's just if I want it to snow, make an appointment in Portland. That's the one thing I've learned. Today, this last couple of days, I was lucky, so I was thankful for that. Anyways, so explore Death Card Globe or Totality. It said, do that more, Nancy. Do that more. It's good for your soul. It's good for your mind. It clears it out. It allows for better thoughts, newer thoughts, creative ideas, transformations. So I read that. I was just like, yes, of course. And then wisdom, 9 of Pentacles, and transformation. I've been a little, I won't say careless, but I've been probably spending more money than I should recently. I mean, not on frivolous things. A few tear ducks here and there. I don't know if you call those frivolous or not, but like I desperately needed some bookcases. I've been putting it off for years. And I bought a really nice bookcase, but it was also ferociously expensive. This was a couple years ago. And of course I filled it up immediately and it became junky, which is not how I like bookcases to look. I like books and decor, kind of and air. I need air in my bookcases, not filled with books. Although I like a place to put my books, and so that's why I bought a bookcase. But anyways, this one was super expensive, and I was like, I love it, and I'd love to get another one, but come on. So I went to IKEA. IKEA, apparently, is the proper way of pronouncing that. To just pick up their standard Billy bookcases, and I thought I'll just get 2 black ones, stand them upright on either side of the buffet, and they'll be perfect. And they were like $100 a piece or something like that, which I think is very reasonable for they're huge. They're 79 inches tall and 31 inches wide, and adjustable shelves. It was pretty cool, all finished. I mean, you can paint them if you want, but you don't have to. Very reasonable. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do that. So I kept checking their website to make sure Portland had them, and they did. And so I went there to IKEA. And going to IKEA is like freaking going to Trader Joe's. You go in for some French onion soup, and you come back with a freaking cartload of stuff. So IKEA is that way. So I tried to be very mindful that we had a mission, and I wasn't going to veer from it. So I did get sucked in by a few of their fake plants, which, that happens. Anyway, So I go. What I needed to know was how deep the shelves were. I think I actually ended up looking it up on a computer, but I wanted to see the physical bookcase. I'd seen it. I knew vaguely what it was in my mind, and I had seen it online, but I wanted to see it in real life just to make sure it's what I wanted. And so I went there, and perfect, fine. And then the inevitable tag at IKEA is the tag that says temporarily unavailable. It's on the card that tells you which bin and aisle what aisle and bin to look for your item. Temporarily unavailable. And the natural ones, which, well, I say natural, I don't know what kind of, I think it's fake, but kind of a more natural, sorry, itchy nose. I get that every time I start talking. Why is that? Someone gonna kiss me? That's what my mom used to say all the time. If your nose is itching, someone's gonna kiss you. Anyway, so they have a blondish color, which was okay, and under most circumstances, that would have been what I would have gone for. But my walls are kind of that color, and I just thought it would be almost too matchy. And my buffet is more of a light walnut brown, and with some black trim, and I thought the black ones are going to be the better ones for me, not white, because white looks like kids' room kind of stuff. So the black they call it a black brown, but I thought, yeah, that's perfect. So temporarily unavailable. So I was like, fine, I'll settle for the other ones. I went there temporarily, and the only ones available are the white ones. So I thought, well, because they make them in different sizes, can I piece a couple of together instead of one big one, get 2 smaller ones? And all of the black, all of them temporarily unavailable. And I was like, as usual, I'm settling again, which I'm trying not to do, because I do that and I always regret it. So I was like, well, you know what? God, their website says they have them. I got to go past there anyway. I'm going to check anyways, just in case. So I go there, and they're freaking loaded up with them. And there was a guy, fortunately, because these things are heavy. I don't even know how much they weigh, but they're very long. I knew they'd fit in my car. I had pre-measured, but when I tried to even lift them off the shelf, I was like, oh, this is not going to happen well. And just then, this miracle guy appears behind me with the cart. He says, "You need some help?" I go, "Yes, please." Perfect timing. And so he came and he loaded into the cart. And I wheeled this thing out and paid for everything. And get outside, and there's not a soul to be found. Like, there's no way I'm going to get these in my car. So I get to, forget the car. Let's start there. Or bring it around, back it in. Come out, and just like a miracle again, boom. "Hi, do you need some help?" I'm like, "Yes, please." So he calls his buddy, and they come over, and they load up the car, and I was just so happy. And then the other thing I was going to do was buy these baskets that fit into this shelving. A lot of this is for my tarot deck storage, because I really like having the main players kind of quickly available to me. But it's getting kind of junky looking, and I don't like that. I like tidy. So, where was I going with that? Oh, so I wanted to get these baskets to go in the shelf so I could put the decks in there, and they can kind of not hide, but not be all akimbo on these bookshelves. And I almost forgot them. And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, it's a freaking 300-mile drive to and fro. So I was like, oh, baskets. And so I went back in, and that's where my willpower fell apart. So I couldn't find baskets that fit. I may have better luck at World Market. So I did settle, but that's because I just kind of want to get it out. But they were really cheap. They're like $6 a piece, these square kind of canvas ones. Not square, they're more like rectangle. You don't care. So anyways, I bought 6 of those to see if this is a system that's going to work for me without spending a gobload of money. And then I also bought some little plants, which are very cute. So that was it. So it's a very successful trip. So I'm going to put my bookcase together. I don't know where I was going with that story. So there we go. And no rant to go along with it. How unusual. But anyway, so I forgot about this. So finances. That's what I was talking about. So wisdom, pentacles, keeping grounded in transformation. I think is just kind of saying, steady yourself, girl. The rest of your life isn't cheap. So be mindful of your resources and how to use them. And the third line is solitude, with the 9 of Wands in balance. And I think clearly I am very much an introvert. It took me a long time to figure that out. But when I did, it changed. It was life-changing, seriously, because it just allowed me to, number one, understand myself, understand how I maneuver through the world without exhausting myself at every turn. Which, after 40 frickin' years, how many ever, thankfully, I figured that out. It's so bizarre that you don't get that in yourself, and you just don't get a lot of feedback. I mean, nobody had ever said to me, maybe, you're a people person. You're always out there. You're loud. I think I've said this before, but like my mother used to say, you don't have an indoor voice, do you? It's like, no, I'm 4'11". I have to be loud. Nobody will hear me otherwise. At least that's what I discovered growing up. You have to, So that's what I did. So I appear on the outside as very much of an introvert, but what I didn't realize and what other people do, I just thought it was normal that you have a day with people and it takes 2 days to recuperate. I would go down to my little den, my bedroom, and just hole up. And my mom would be like, are you ill? What's wrong with you? And I'm like, no, I'm just, leave me alone. It's just, she just considered it teenage angst. But in reality, it was recovery. And my family was a social family. We had a lot of gatherings. We went to a lot of gatherings, and they were utterly exhausting. But I didn't know that's what that was. and I never put it together. And it wasn't until I did a Meyer-Briggs thing where test in my career, my company was just, maybe we want to figure out who these people are that are in our company. How best could we pair them up or whatever? Are they in the right jobs? Things like that. And so I took this exam, and I knew the proctor because from other seminars I'd been involved in, and her and I were very similar, and we got to know each other, fairly well. I wouldn't call us friends, but we were acquaintances. She knew me. And so when I got done with the test, she looked at my answer. She was like, there's no way, because it was listing me as an INFP. And she was like, there's no way. There's no way you're that. Just no way. Read this instead. And it was an ENFP, which is extroverted. I is the introverted part. I'm simplifying it substantially. If you want to know more, read up on it. It's kind of fascinating, actually. But anyways, so she gives me this other paper. She goes, read this one, and then read the INFP. Tell me which one is more like you, because the test isn't perfect. And you're not perfect. Take the test. Sometimes you're answering not necessarily how you would really answer. You're answering how you think you want to answer. Like would I do this or that? Nah, I'd probably do this, but I don't want to admit that, so I'm going to say this. So, but there's a lot of freaking questions, like 90, 100 questions. So they try to weed that stuff out, but it's not always right, not always accurate. So she gave me these 2 sheets, and I read them through, and I go, no, this is me. Yeah, I could have written this. And she read through it, and she's like, she knew what I did. I was in the restaurant business. At the time, I was a restaurant manager for God, how many seats did we have? 350 on the waterfront in downtown Seattle. It was an incredibly busy place. We had, during the winter, we carried 60 to 70 employees, and during the summer, maybe 150 that we're managing, and all the people. All the people coming in the door. And she looked at me and she goes, you must be exhausted. And I'm like, I was clueless as to what she was talking. I mean, I knew what the word meant, but I don't think I ever knew what it meant physically to me. And so I was like, and then she goes, oh God, it's worse. You don't even know it. And I go, no, what? And so she just kind of handed me some stuff and said, read this, look it up, research this. This will change your life. And I was like, watch me roll my eyes. I was kind of, I was a psychology major, for God's sake. That's what my degree's in. But, I just realized I forgot to plug in my microphone. Oh, well, so I sound like I'm talking in a cave. Sorry. I could remedy that. Let me do that right now. So hopefully that's better. Sorry about that. So anyway, I didn't do that much research. I did a little bit, but not much. Mostly just the stuff she gave me, and I just kind of blew it off. And the company wasn't going to do anything with it either, because that just wasn't there. It was too much for them to deal with the fact that they might have different personalities within the company. So, and they wouldn't frickin' know what to do with them if they figured it out anyway. So they didn't, as far as I know, never did anything with him. But fast forward a year, 2 years maybe, my supervisor came up to me and said, we want you to do this new position, which would take me out of the main floor work of the restaurant, and it was a promotion, to direct their banquet services. And I was like, I don't know, I really like what I'm doing and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, we really think you'd be good at this. And so I was like, nah, I don't. So I turned them down. I said, thank you, but no thank you. I just didn't feel like that's what I wanted to do. And then they circled back about 6 months later and said, we really want you to do this. I mean, they ended up hiring somebody who spent like almost a year trying to put a program together. And I'm like, how, why? I mean, oh my God. And she spent so much money, but whatever. I loved her to death, but they wanted me to replace her. That was awkward, man. They put me under her, an assistant. She didn't even want an assistant. They just put me under her to learn as much as I could. And I think there was a point at which she looked at me and said, are you being trained for my job? And I'm like, I had to lie to her, because I said, we don't, keep this on the down low. And I was like, great. So she is. She's training what does that say when somebody's training their replacement? I just, if you're so bad that we don't want you to work for us, why are you giving her or him the opportunity to train the next generation? It's just, passing along bad habits, work, or whatever. It doesn't make sense to me. But it was, I was young and stupid, and so I was like, okay. So, anyway, so I take the job with the caveat that I would give it 6 months, and if I utterly hated it, that I could have my old job back. And they said, absolutely, you'll always be manager capable in this company completely. So don't worry about that. We'll find a place for you if you hate this job. And I said, okay. So I took the job, and I want to say within 2 months, I was like, oh my God, I should have been doing this for years, because it took me out of the mayhem of the restaurant and put me in a position where, number one, I was back to doing what I enjoyed, what was attractive to me in the first place, what attracted me in the first place to this kind of work, which is I do like people. Not all introverts don't hate people. They just can't take them in large groups, and they can't take them for a long period of time. And in the restaurant, that's all I was doing, 8 hours a day. I remember would get out of my car, and I would be like, take a gigantic breath and go in, and I wouldn't exhale until the night was over, until I locked those doors. And that was just 8 hours of utter mayhem and chaos in most cases. That restaurant was huge, and it was busy, and there were a lot of balls to juggle in every moment of every hour of every minute in that place. And getting away from that was like I got my life back. It was the most bizarre thing, and the only thing that not the only thing, but the thing that came to mind was that woman saying, "You must be exhausted," because it was actually getting out of that environment and into a different one where I was like, oh, is this what it's like to be human, to be normal, to go home and sleep at night? Well, that changed once I got a lot better at my other job, but at my new job. But nonetheless, yeah, I mean, it was like an utter life change for me to understand that. And it has taken me years to kind of embrace that aspect of myself as I don't think I ever thought of it as negative. I'm just not sure I ever thought of it as a really intricate part of how I do life. I thought, okay, this makes sense for my career. But I never really mapped it over to my life. But eventually I figured it out. So, and people still laugh at me when I tell them that. When they know me, if they know me for any length of time, and when I say something about an introvert, they're like, cockhead, what? No. I was like, yeah, and then people who know me intimately absolutely know that about my family, for instance, was kind of like, oh, well, everything's clearer now. Now we get why you need to, when you come down to visit, you need your own room. You need to go there and hide out. You're not being antisocial. You're being mindful of the fact that you're about to snap if you don't get some time away from the people, not them, just people. So anyways, this solitude, followed by the 9 of Wands, been in battle, have the scars to show it. It's a battle I will continue to wage, which is within myself, really, to understand how that whole thing works. But in the clarifying card, it's balance. In other words, you can't just hole up by yourself for the rest of your life. It doesn't work that way. You're in a society. You need to be able to function within the world with which you are allowed to put up with. Everybody puts up their fences and lives in their own little bubble. And I have mine, and mine's fairly empty of people. I need to remember that people are good. They're good for your mind. They're good for your creative juices. They're good for your, I think I've talked about this before, but it's kind of to me like tarot. Tarot is a lot like talking to your neighbor on the front porch. you can have noodle stuff around in your brain all day long and solve the world's problems. And then you could step out to your front porch and your neighbor will say, "How you doing?" And you say, "Oh, I figured it all out." Not necessarily world problems, but whatever thing you're working on. I got it all figured out, blah, 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 blah. And then they ask a simple question and you're like, "Whoa, I don't know. I hadn't thought about that." That to me is tarot. It's also your next door neighbor. And that's called being out there in life. It it forces you to think beyond the very tight circumstances within your own mind, which is it's, I think in many ways everybody's happy place, at least it is mine, but it's not necessarily the most productive place to live within that, that what's a comfort zone lane that my brain is in. You need to remember to push those boundaries a little bit and move outside of them, and sometimes the only way to do that is to actually have real conversations with people. So, fine. I'm like, okay. So this just read very clearly to me that so explore, transformation, mobility, get out there. Don't be stupid about your finances. Be smart about them. Be mindful about them, and it will transform your life. And while you embrace your introvertness and you've had to defend it or hidden yourself from it for a long, long time, it's okay. You've survived, got a few scars, you're fine, but you do need to create a balance within your own world that will help your world continue to move forward and expand in a way that it should as you age, with wisdom and being smarter. So that's my read for today. I hope it was, I don't know if it's helpful to anybody else, but it was helpful to me. So I appreciate you coming along for the ride. Thanks so much. Star Flurry out. Bye.